Redemption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Labour Party is going to be supporting the Lobbying Disclosure Bill at first reading, but we do have quite a few reservations about the effect that the bill, as it currently stands, would have if passed into law in its current form. And if it were to come back from the Select Committee in its present form, I think it's unlikely that we would support it beyond that stage. I want to talk about the underlying values that should drive this, which is around increased transparency around professional lobbyists and those who are basically seeking influence for money. And I think that we definitely want to see greater transparency around that, and I think that that's something that's universally supported. I do want to talk, however, about some of the practical realities of being a constituency member of Parliament and what this bill might actually mean for constituency members of Parliament. And I want to start with the plumbers, because I have a group of plumbers in my electorate who are very passionate about the regulatory environment for plumbers at the moment, and they've had quite a few issues under both Labour and national governments that they are very vocal about. Now, they have come to me as their local member of Parliament to express their dissatisfaction. Now, technically, because they are paid, they're coming to me in their paid capacity, they are covered as lobbyists under this piece of legislation. Church ministers will come to speak to me in their capacity as a minister of the church to talk about issues that are impacting on citizens in my electorate, and that is something that I want to actively encourage. I want to make sure that people in my electorate know that my door is open and that they can come and talk to me about any number of issues. One of the things many constituency members of Parliament do is we effectively act as troubleshooters for people, sometimes in relation to paid employment issues. And under the current wording of this bill, some of those would be required to be disclosed if this bill is implemented in its present form. I actually think that far from improving our democratic system and improving transparency around it, it would actually act as a deterrent for people going to speak to their members of Parliament about very legitimate things. There are some people who come to speak to a member of Parliament who would not do so if that was going to automatically become public that they did it. And I actually think that that would hinder the democratic process and in fact be very, very damaging. And now I accept that the Green Party probably don't have the active constituency officers that the Labour members of Parliament and the national members of Parliament do. And I know they choose to spend their parliamentary resources on other things, but the constituency members of Parliament will certainly all agree that in fact we deal with quite a number of quite sensitive issues in constituency offices, and that is something that I'm very, very jealous that I will very, very jealously guard. Because I think it would be very detrimental to our democratic system if people felt that they couldn't come to speak to their members of Parliament without that having to be disclosed. I've had some round table-like discussions in my office around a whole variety of issues which have involved Not business roundtable. We've had roundtable discussions, getting a whole lot of people who are involved in an issue in the office to actually sort out problems. Some of them are paid to be there because they may be connected to the case in some way. They may be a lawyer involved in it somehow. They may be it may be a business that's involved in it somehow. And they're not there to lobby. They are there because we're trying to solve a problem that may involve a family issue, for example. And those are the sorts of things which are quite sensitive, which I think those people need to be able to know that their member of Parliament can help them with those issues without it having to be disclosed to the general public. And I actually think that, and so I'm concerned that one of the effects of this bill is that it would require that, and therefore it would act as a detriment to that happening. The bill overall, as I said, the intention of the bill is a good one, which is around greater transparency around the work of professional lobbyists, and I think that certainly that is something that I fully support. I think that there are other things that aren't covered by this bill that we need to look at around the way the Parliament operates in that environment as well. I'd also point out, however, that we have a very open system at the moment, and we do have some systems in place, for example, around the Register of Pecuniary Interests, that also help to safeguard our democratic process from those who are effectively trying to buy influence. So our system's good. The intention of the bill is good. Some of the practical impacts of it are not good, and so we're going to be monitoring this very closely.
Good speak.
I recognise the Honourable Member Kamaljeet Singh.